Yes, of course, there's a crisis. I mean, there's a crisis of civic consciousness. There's a crisis of democracy. There's an economic and political crisis. There's a crisis of agency. There's a crisis of dignity. There's a crisis of education. I mean, what we basically see in the United States is something that's totally at odds with what it often views itself as being an exceptional country. That meaning that it has viewed itself in the past, unfortunately and untrue, as a country that represents the highest pinnacle, not only of civilization, but also of democracy. And I think that a contradiction is emerging now in the United States that makes it clear that not only is it not a democracy, but it's a country basically and increasingly like other countries in Europe, whether we're talking about Italy or we're talking about India, whether we're talking about Hungary or Turkey, that has become increasingly authoritarian. And I think it's becoming increasingly difficult for this government to justify itself. So what does it do? Since it's losing its legitimacy as basically a government that serves people as opposed to serving a ruling elite, it basically becomes increasingly more militaristic. And as it attacks social problems, the punishing state becomes more powerful. And the notion of a war culture extends not only at home domestically, but also abroad, with, of course, the endless rhetoric about invading Venezuela or, of course, bombing Iran or any other country that it somehow seems to believe gets in the way of its totalitarian logics. But I think that what's most important here is the increasingly lawlessness of the United States government, the abduction of people without due process, the militarization of the cities, the attempt to militarize the army and to make a claim that it has no allegiance to the Constitution, it only has an allegiance to Trump, turning it into a sort of private army. The war on black and brown people, the war on immigrants, the war on refugees. I mean, all of these become a vehicle for basically asserting a kind of militarism and a kind of fascism that is increasingly becoming not only unpopular in the United States, but is alarming people.